When I was a child, I enjoyed the simplest things in life. I didn't need expensive toys or the latest technology. I was happy with the simple act of visiting a field of flowers that was very close to my house. And I wasn't alone. My best friend Daniel joined me every day. In fact, at least 20 or 25 boys and girls from the area would sit there to enjoy the evening breeze among those beautiful flowers. It was a magical place. It was amazing to see so many of the town's children. You could say we were almost hypnotized to go there. We would have dinner, do our homework, and then head to the field. What we loved was feeling the grass, the earth, and the roots beneath our feet. It was as if the field was caressing our little feet. We could hardly see the ground sometimes because the grass covered everything, but sometimes it's better to feel than to see. And what we felt was something that made us close our eyes with pleasure. We all sat barefoot to feel the touch of the ground. Our parents didn't like us going out at night, but we had to do it. At night, it was even more special. It seemed that some mushrooms appeared at night. It was very strange. Well, I called them mushrooms because it was too dark to see them clearly. But we would pluck them with our fingers and eat them. Bit by bit, they had a very good taste and were very soft. The roots we could feel were a bit tough, and I think there were holes. But that didn't matter. For a long time, we enjoyed that place. But after a while, strange things started happening. One night, as I was looking out of my window, I thought I saw Daniel walking down the street in the darkness and entering the field. He must have sneaked out of his house, and I wasn't going to betray him. So even though he looked a bit odd, like a sleepwalker, I chose not to call out to him, as it would make noise, wake everyone up, and he would be caught. I simply went to sleep. The next day, Daniel didn't go to school, and I was worried because he never missed a day. When I went to his house to ask his parents, I found them distraught, with no idea where Daniel could be. As I was just a child, I got scared. And even though I had seen him, I didn't admit it. In the following days, many other children who used to go to the field in the afternoon started disappearing. Apparently, many were last seen near that place. My mother had already forbidden me from leaving the house, but even though I was nervous too, as they thought it might be some child abductor, there was something that compelled me to go to the field. I couldn't resist. I had to go back and feel those caresses on the soles of my feet and eat those delicious mushrooms. So, taking advantage of the fact that my mother was already asleep, I sneaked out. After walking down the street, I managed to put my bare feet on the field of flowers. The sensation was one of immense pleasure, something I couldn't explain. I walked in and sat on the ground among the flowers. I immediately felt the pleasure in my feet. I reached down and started eating those delicious mushrooms. But something interrupted my ecstasy when I felt something grabbing my leg. I tried to get up, and that's when something bit me very hard. I was so scared that I screamed as loud as I could until I managed to free myself. I ran desperately without stopping until I got out of the field, all the while feeling like something was constantly trying to grab me. With all the commotion I made, I managed to wake up my mother and many of the neighbors. My mother caught me in her arms while I cried and begged for forgiveness. However, when we examined my leg, it had the marks of fingers and a terrifying bite. The neighbors called the police, and I told them everything I knew, even though I was trembling with fear. At dawn, the police ordered the destruction of the field, bringing a tractor to plow it. I won't deny that I felt some sadness, but while this was happening, no one was prepared for what our eyes would discover beneath all the beautiful flowers. There were semi-unearthed cadaveric hands that had been giving us those caresses, pieces of skin and fingers that were the so-called mushrooms we had all been eating. And there were mouths, some with teeth, probably the ones that attacked me. It turned out to be some ancient, cursed graveyard. The atmosphere was filled with a nauseating smell, and nothing was as the haunted place had led us to believe. The flowers were just a facade hiding the terror beneath. Everyone was crying, terrified to see how all the missing children appeared one by one, dead, held by those hands as they tried to escape. Some were missing parts that had already been consumed by those horrifying mouths. Everyone was petrified, but no one but me, saw them find Daniel's corpse, right in the same spot where I had been attacked and where I had been eating those mushrooms. Perhaps that's why I noticed he was missing a finger on one of his hands. It has been more than 20 years since my childhood was brutally destroyed. I believe there's nothing left of that place now, but I carry an eternal memory of my friend Daniel, with the mark of his hand and the bite from his mouth on my leg. My name is Alicia. I am 17 years old. I used to attend high school in Mexico City not long ago, but my parents decided that we would move to a small town near the city since Dad had lost his job. When I was on my way back home, I remember it was 12 p.m. Out of nowhere, a completely white bus appeared. It stopped right next to me. And since it was very late, I didn't care and got on. Inside the bus, there were no people, only the pale driver, tall and with a macabre look. I thought that since it was late, it wasn't strange that there was no one else on the bus, so I fell asleep. I woke up and realized it was exactly the same time. I thought I had only slept for less than a minute and then woken up. I decided to ask the driver how long ago I had gotten on the bus, so I asked. But he didn't respond. I felt like several hours had passed, but when I checked my phone, it was still 12:00 p.m. I started to worry, looked out the window, but all I saw was fog and darkness. I asked the driver to stop the bus, but he said in a murmuring voice, "You'll never get off here." I looked into his eyes and felt a strong sense of emptiness and fear. My heart was pounding, and people started coming onto the bus. But these people had no eyes. They were pale and slowly fading away. I felt like I was fading too, but I just fainted. When I woke up, I saw a horrible creature, resembling a cannibal about to devour me. I jumped out of the bus window and started running. I looked back, and the creature was chasing me. It didn't take long for it to catch up, and I remember seeing it take a bite of my flesh before I passed out, feeling a lot of pain and fear. I looked around and saw medicine, stretchers, and white walls. Then I realized I was in a hospital. My whole body hurt. I asked the nurse what had happened. She told me that a man had found me on a sidewalk near the bus stop. I thought of asking her the time, and she said it was 12:30 p.m. She said half an hour had passed since they found me. I told her that means it was 12:00 p.m. when they found me. The nurse said I had lost a lot of blood and flesh, but that I would recover soon. After several weeks in intensive care, I managed to fully recover. I returned home, and since then, my life has been a true nightmare. Since then, I hear scratches on my bedroom door, knocks on my window, as if something wants to get in. And there it is again. Those infernal knocks on the window behind me, those scratches on my bedroom door, and, oh no, the door is opening. Have you ever heard that old story about the tooth fairy? Of course you've heard it. I definitely believe you have. We all have, right? A friendly creature that leaves coins for children in exchange for their baby teeth. I'm sure our parents had a great time telling us all those fantasies. For them, there's nothing like the excitement on their little ones' faces when they discover a coin under their pillow. I know what you're about to tell me now. Sure, it's just an innocent fantasy. Maybe you saw your daddy or mommy entering your room in the middle of the night at some point. And then you felt a gentle hand sliding the awaited treasure under your head. I would like to say that I also have a memory like that. But the truth is, What I saw that time, when I was only 7 years old, will haunt me for the rest of my life. And that's something I wouldn't wish upon anyone. I remember the day with absolute clarity, despite the time that has passed. One of my front teeth had fallen out, and I was filled with genuine pride because of it. It meant I was going to receive a shiny coin that I could later spend on chocolates. But not only that, it also meant that I was growing up and soon would have a strong and perfect set of teeth. That night, we had chicken legs with peas and mashed potatoes, one of my favorite meals. I told you that I remember everything very well. It really feels like it happened just yesterday. I put on my superhero pajamas, and my mother came to say goodnight. "Rest well, my child," she said as she tucked me into bed. "Go to sleep, and you'll see how tomorrow you'll find something very special under your pillow." I fell asleep, trusting that her words were true. It must have been past midnight when I woke up, startled by some strange noises. It was like the sound of an animal gnawing on something, with very, very sharp gums. I blinked a couple of times before my eyes adjusted to the darkness. The sound had grown louder. I was facing the wall, and right at that moment, I made the worst mistake of my life. I turned around, and that's when I saw her. A hideous old woman kneeling beside my bed, staring at me with her empty eye sockets. She had a mass of gray and dirty hair that partially covered her face, wrinkled and sagging skin. But the most horrible, the most terrifying thing of all was her mouth. A gaping hole that spanned half her face, filled with rows and rows of teeth of various sizes. I was hit by a wave of nausea and terror in that instant. The creature hissed something, and then extended a hand with long, sharp nails from beneath my pillow. She had found what she wanted. She exists, but she's not as friendly as they say. Few people are as brave as to attempt the game you are about to read. If I awaken your curiosity, I warn you that you will be doing so at your own risk. First and foremost, you need to know that this ritual, as it is said on the web, is one of the many that exist to access the dark side, that dimension where supposedly dwell the entities we cannot see. The Three Kings can be an especially traumatizing experience if you consider yourself an easily impressionable person, frequently consume drugs or alcohol. If this is your case, listen to me, DONOTDOIT. Under no circumstances should you dare. If, on the other hand, you are a healthy person, both in body and mind, and brave enough to dare, you're likely to emerge unscathed from this encounter. Some people say that during the game of the Three Kings, you might hear really terrifying things. Others, in fact, recount that the company you get from it is interesting, even pleasant. To perform the ritual, you'll need these things: 3 chairs, 2 mirrors, a candle, a flashlight, a bucket of water, a fan, an object with sentimental value, your cell phone alarm, and a person you absolutely trust. You'll also need to have a completely dark room without windows. The basement is a good place. The game goes like this. At 11 p.m., prepare the ritual items. Place 1 chair in the center of the room and the other 2 on each side, sideways. Put the 2 mirrors on them so that you can see them from the corner of your eye when you sit down. Put the fan behind the central chair and leave it on. The bucket of water goes next to the door. Set the alarm on your mobile phone for 3:30 am and go to sleep with your chosen sentimental object. When you wake up, you'll have only 3 minutes to light the candle. Go to the room and sit on the central chair with the candle and your precious object in complete darkness. You must be there by 3:33 am. Make sure the candle doesn't go out, or else you're going to have a really tough time. Protect it with your hands. Similarly, your trusted person should stay outside to ensure they can pull you out in case something goes wrong. The game ends at 4:34 am. Now that you're seated on your throne, keep your gaze forward, Never look at either of the mirrors, or you might come across something you won't like. It's normal to feel fear, but don't show it. You wouldn't want to offend your company. Instead, you might receive answers you've been waiting a long time to hear, or hear something else interesting. At 4:34, your trusted person should come for you. The bucket of water is to wake you up if you've fallen into a trance, which is possible due to the shock this dark ritual entails. Do you dare to play the Three Kings?